All right, a lot to get across tonight. I'm joined now by Radio 2GB host Luke Grant and Pauline Hanson's Chief of Staff, One Nation's James Ashby. Gents, welcome to the show. Great to have your company. Let's start with this potential double dissolution trigger. I say potential because I reckon the jury's out on this one, James Ashby. The bill, as you know, rejected in the Senate. Greens, the coalition, of course, One Nation too, didn't support it. That now defeated bill, if it is reintroduced in exactly the same form, could meet the threshold for the requirements of a DD trigger. PM says today he'll put it into the Parliament, into the House next week. I think the party wants to fight with the Greens. I'm not entirely sure he's going to use it. So, James Ashby, to you, is One Nation going to change its mind on this housing legislation? And do you think he's fair income about a trigger?
Well, I say bring on the double dissolution trigger, Peter. I'd be very happy, and I think most of the country would be very happy if the Prime Minister called an early election and actually wiped the slate clean and forced everyone from the Senate to the lower house, just clear the paddock and start fresh. The reality is this bill is a dog, and there's a reason why the Greens haven't supported it. There's a reason why the coalition, One Nation, everybody is against this bill. The Prime Minister's got a problem with his calculator. He keeps saying that, look, we're going to put $500 million towards low socio-economic housing, public housing over the next 5 years. That would mean at the end of the 5 years, he plans to build 33,000 homes or 35,000 homes. He thinks he's going to build them at $83,000 a property. The bloke is either a dunce or he hasn't done the sums. One of those two things. So, no, we can't support the bill as it stands. Look, the Prime Minister's got a problem with immigration. If you want to slow down the pricing on houses in this country, slow down the intake of people. If you're going to take 500,000 more migrants into the country, you are going to create an even bigger housing shortage, and that spells disaster for Australian residents.
Look, I think James is right to point out, you can't build a house for $80,000. Tell him he's dreaming. Two, I think the immigration point is absolutely cutting through. But I think more broadly, all this constant talk, and it's been talked now for about 15 years about bigger and bigger social housing builds from Labor. These homes never materialise. They cost the taxpayer literally billions and billions of dollars. And the people in the market now are working people. They don't see themselves getting social housing, but they also know them or their kids are struggling to get into the market. So they can't see that any of these promises coming out of Canberra are going to make their lives better, which is why I don't think this bill is a vote winner for the government. I don't think it's hurting all the other players who won't vote it through. I don't think it's hurting them. I think the more the government talks about issues like housing, the more people look at them and say, well, hang on, you're in charge. Why aren't you fixing it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, it looks like they're playing politics, Peter, doesn't it? I mean, they've got this bill to somehow build 33,000 homes in 5 years. Just on that, I had a look. If you wanted social housing, low-cost housing in Sydney's west, all right, places like Penrith and Mount Druitt, according to the state government website I looked at, your wait is 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years. And that's leaving aside the, 1.5 million extra people that are coming to Australia over the next 5 years. It just looks like politics. It's Albo saying my way or the highway, or we might have a double dissolution. People are sick of it. They want to see things done. They want to see blokes out there and women out there, brickies, labourers, land being cleared, houses being erected. What happens in the Senate, people don't give a toss about. But if he keeps doing this, they certainly will in a couple of years, I can guarantee it.
Look, I'll just stay with you if I can. That point you make there about tradies, big story today that they're going to, in the UK, ease visa restrictions to enable a whole lot of Australian tradies to go over there and work for an extended period of time. The master builders were in the media this morning saying, we don't begrudge any young person going and living working in the UK, but we're really worried. We've trained these tradies, we've got them through apprenticeships, we desperately need them in Australia. They'll all take off and our government's a bit flat-footed in this. What do you think?
Well, that's exactly right. They had that Jobs and Skills Summit, Peter, you remember last year, And all of a sudden, we've got all these good minds, and there are some great minds in the room together to say, righto, we've got to get skilled people into Australia to fix the holes. Now, Danita Warren from the Master Builders told me it was something like 500,000 tradies down, who will be over the next decade. But we're not the only ones. It's a competitive game out there. The days where, you know, you flung open the gate and, oh, Australia, let's go there, they're gone. They're done. Countries like us are looking for skilled people. This is a massive problem. So we've got a shortage of housing. We've got 1.5 million people coming. We've got a government slowing doing anything about it. And we mightn't have the staff. Hello? Anyone paying attention?
All right, let's go to inflation. And we saw those numbers come out this week. Yes, it's moving in the right direction. Absolutely, James Ashby. But at 6%, it's still double where the RBA needs it before it'll take its foot off interest rates and other pressures. We've got an RBA meeting on Tuesday. I think all the experts, or so-called experts, are a bit mixed as to whether there'll be an increase or not. But what I thought was really interesting in the paper today, they broke out the increase beyond the generalised 6%, that's across the board on inflation, the increase in the stuff that actually matters to families, the stuff you have to buy, you know, the bread, the milk, the cost of your insurance. I think we've got some of them up there on screen. They're in double digits. I mean, gas is up 26%, cheese is up 16%, milk's up 15%. This is double and beyond this 6% that the government was crowing about. That's where people are really feeling the pain, isn't it?
Oh, sure is. And look, I'm in Townsville tonight and being on the streets all day today, talking to people, where I'm normally from, Central Queensland. Now, we've got reasonably high insurance rates there because of the fact that we sit in an area which is prone to some natural weather events that are a bit more severe than that of down south. The further north you go, you've got higher insurances because you're more prone to cyclones. Now, I just realised today, between two cars and the house, I'm paying a bit over $6,000 a year in insurance. That's over $100 a week that's got to come out of my pay packet. And people at home are no different. The further north you go, the higher those insurances are. The first thing when the pressure's on, and this is what we found many years ago through Cyclone Larry, there were many homes in northern Queensland that just couldn't afford insurance at the time. It's one of the things that people stop paying when the pressure's on, the squeeze is on with finances. And this is happening right across the country. So all of a sudden you find that people aren't insuring their cars, or their homes are undervalued or underinsured. So these are the pressures. Washing liquid at home is just really, you know, I couldn't believe I'm paying $40 for Omo lately. And I buy it at half price now, Peter. When I see it on sale, I just stock up on it. And people are doing the same thing right across the board. So yeah, the pressure's on. Yep.
Me too.
Just the other day, I caught up with someone for a coffee. It was literally 2 coffees, or 1 coffee, 1 pot of tea, 1 Lamington and 1 small cake. I went to do the pay wave thing. It was over $30. I said to her, that can't be $30. And fair enough, it was $30. 2 coffees and 2 cakes. I just couldn't believe it. Hey, just before we go, we've had this talk, Luke and James. Every time there's a flood or other natural disasters, we say, well, why on earth are people building in those areas, okay? If they are already there, if the towns are there and those communities are there, that's one thing. But there was a whole big sort of jamboree today, master builders, directors of Planning Institute Australia and others, meeting to basically agree that we shouldn't build all the new homes we need, because we've got a lot in the pipeline, on flood plains. Now, Luke Grant, A, I can't believe they need a meeting to decide that, but B, please help me here. I thought we'd already decided not to do that.
I wish I could help you. State governments apparently haven't decided to do that, which is just astonishing. You know what? Very quickly, I know you're out of time. How often do we see someone walk into a town that was flooded and say, oh, look at this, we've opened up the arts centre. How good, we're back, baby. And then they are completely mute about flood mitigation or conversations like they had at that meeting today. It is just a joke. Just a joke.
Yeah, that decision should have been taken yesterday. James Ashby, good luck when Parliament returns. You've got a busy fortnight ahead. Luke Grant, I listen to you most nights. I'm a bit of an insomniac, so I love your dulcet tones. See you both next week.